Thanks for watching AM Northwest. If your kids didn't start school today, they'll be starting soon. So here to help us make it a great year for them, we welcome back parenting expert Yishai Busi. Welcome, Yishai.
Thanks, Tana.
So you're the best parenting expert. Your tips are always so good. And you have such sage advice. So can we get right into it?
Let's
start right
Let's
off
dive
with
in.
have a
Go for
conversation with your kids before the school year starts. Or if it started today and you haven't had it, it's not too late.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do we talk about?
All right. So the more we can get ahead of potential pitfalls, the better. And I think kids often, some of them want to get back to school, some of them want more summer, but they're not really thinking about the realities of what it's like to be in school. They've kind of like out of sight, out of mind. They've forgotten about last year. They
Right.
might say, oh, it's going to be a clean slate. I'm going to do good. It'll be fine. Just leave me alone. Let me
Yeah.
just go. But we need to they're going to have a better chance of being successful if we can start having conversations with them to get them thinking about what is it really going to be like. And so some of the things we might ask them about are things like, how are you going to manage your time? How are you going to deal with distractions? How are you going to cope with, you want to hang out with your friends, but you also need to get a good night's sleep and you're going to have more homework this year. How do you think what's your plan for that? How are you thinking about strategies if things get stressful?
What if they say, I don't know? I don't know.
That's a good chance that's going to happen at
I
first,
think that's what my kids would have
right?
said. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So all the more reason we need to stick with that.
Yeah.
You don't know, well, we need to help you know.
figure it out.
That's right.
Let's
yeah.
figure it
so
out.
I'm so glad we're starting here because I don't know that's fine. Then you're just telling me we need to really make sure you do know because this is going to happen.
Right. And can we go to that homework thing? What do you think about where they should do their homework?
So this is going to be different a little bit. And I think generally, it's helpful to have certainly a decluttered, organized place free of distraction.
Right.
That helps. But we want to empower kids as much as possible to think for themselves. What helps me do homework? What isn't helpful? So I would prefer, if possible, that we ask kids, is doing homework in your room, do you think that helps you or do you think that is more distracting for you?
And do you think that's a leading question? Do you think that they'll feel like you're patronizing them? Like, is that a real question or are you like saying, that's not a good place to do your homework by asking that question? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I want to. It's for some of us, if we have are used to being in control or have our ideas of what's best, we might tell our kids, you're not going to do your homework in your room this year. This is where you need to do your homework.
Yeah.
And we might be right or we might not, but we want to genuinely ask kids the question. So it's not trying to be patronizing.
Right.
It's a sincere question
Okay.
because I want my kid to get their wheels turning to think for themselves.
Right, and they'll have more buy-in if they're making that decision.
That's the goal, is to get them to have buy-in, feel like they're making the decision, and they're learning for themselves, oh yeah, that's not as good for me, this is better for me, versus mom or dad told me, so I have to do what they listen to them.
Okay, this one is good. Focus on improving the influence you have with your child instead of trying to control them.
Yeah, so that kind of goes right into that. Some of us, that's harder. When kids are little, we have babies, toddlers, control works, and sometimes we need that control to keep them safe. But we also need to adapt as kids get older. And when we don't adapt and we exert that, usually control comes from a place of anxiety. Mm-hmm. And we're afraid if they're going to fail, they're going to struggle. And so we can overcompensate sometimes. And so we stop empowering them to learn from mistakes. We learn from making mistakes. All of us do. We have to be able, sometimes we have to let them fail and then have them reflect, what are you going to do differently? What are you going to do instead? That didn't work. We're not going to just move on, pretend it happened, but you have to have ownership and you have to have a plan. I can't do it for you.
And the parent has to be okay if they don't succeed.
We have to anticipate that, and that doesn't mean we're giving up on them. It means we're empowering them. Get back up.
Right.
Figure it out. Let's learn. I'm here by your side. I'm here to support you, but I'm not going to do it for you.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about stress because we have to understand the excessive stress, and then are there things we can do to help them manage that stress?
Yes. So I think it's important that we understand adolescents experience stress differently than adults do because of their developing brain and their stage in life. They are more sensitive to the negative aspects of stress. And so sometimes we underestimate how much stress kids are having. at all ages.
Right.
And so because they can kind of suck it up, or we encourage them to push through, or we think of them as little adults, but they're not. They don't have the coping skills we have. They don't have the experiences we have to understand that this too shall pass.
Right.
And so
That's
they
why
get
everything
really
seems
caught
so big for them,
up.
right?
Everything seems so
Yeah.
big, and they're wound up, many of them. Even some of the straight A kids are wound up. Some
Yeah.
of the kids they give up because
Yeah.
they don't have the capacity to manage any of the stress. So we need to not avoid stress, but teach them to cope with stress
Okay,
and help
okay.
them reflect. You seem really stressed out. How do
Yes.
we support you?
Okay.
Do you think that staying up till 1 and sleeping 6 hours, is that helpful to your stress or not?
Yeah.
Staying on social media all night, do you think that's
Not gonna
helping your
work.
stress or
Yeah,
not?
yeah.
We got to help them kind of navigate that. And
Yeah.
we might need to set boundaries for them to help until they can learn to set boundaries for themselves.
Okay, and you have some great tips on how to manage that stress, and the tips are on our website right now.
Great.
And so thank you so much for these